Hey yo guys, how's it going? Tally here, and today, actually not today, it was like a couple weeks ago, but today I am recording the intro. We are going to look at the brand new Cyber Dragon profile from good friend Jamie, who has in fact talked with a version of Cyber Dragons in the past. Alright, he is the Cyber Dragon guy on the channel, and of course I am happy to let him talk away. So guys, before we dive into the deck profile, of course, if you like the content, give it a like. If you love it, give it a share and tell everyone you know about Team Tally today. And if you want to support the channel, you can always leave a comment on the video. Always let me know what you think of the deck profile, or if you've got nothing really to say, just leave hashtag for the algorithm. Guys, let's dive in. Okay, as always, we have Jamie, the absolutely fantastic, wonderful Jamie. He's going to talk to us a little bit about Cyber Dragons. Alright guys, so I'm going to step back, let Jamie talk and do his thing.
Alright guys, so pretty much a basic revision of things you've seen from myself and Tally before. So starting with the Cyber Dragon package, fairly standard, 3 Cyber Dragon, 3 Core, 3 Hares and 2 Nacht. We go for 2 Nacht over 1 or over 3. 3 is too many and it can brick you. 1 is not going to do what you need it to, but with 2 you can always have 1 engrave with the ideal setup, so you can add 1 back with Hares, but you have 1 in the deck that you either draw into, search, or summon from Core's Grave effect. It's a wonderful card just for extending back into your Nova and Infinity, and is the key card in winning those mid to long games. After that, 2 Galaxy Soldier. To go over what some people were annoyed in the last video, 2 is correct because you don't want a dead card. The search effect is once per turn, so if you were playing a third, after you drew the third one on another turn, yeah, you might be able to summon it, but it's not going to search. So you've only discarded something for a defense position extender, which is doing almost nothing for you. Whilst Nacht, you make the same discarding cost, but it's any monster, and you can revive something from grave. So Nacht does the extending job better, and you just don't want the breadth of something discarding. You want reactionary, draw it, play it style cards. 1 Anchor Drill. Anchor Drill has gone in and out and in and out and will continue to do so. It's a format depending card that matters around which hand traps are being played and what strategies are being used to counter. Going first, it gives Cyber Dragon some viability. You can set that up with things like Overflow, maybe an Infinity if you opened up the absolute nuts, and you know, VFB with a load of pops from Overflow, or maybe even a set Cyberload gets the job done most of the time. So then there are 2 Levianeer. 2 Levianeer, you can use it as your removal for monsters, spells and traps. There are dark monsters in here. Phantasma helps with those ratios. The new Relinquished link helps with those ratios. So you can resolve the destruction effect, but you can use the Monster Reborn effect as well to help extend into your Anaconda combos. But it's just generally a great card. It also gives you access to Dingirsu when you overlay it with Fortress. That might sound quite niche, but in that mid-game, or even in your second turn play, if you've got the right amount of setup, Levianeer comes in after you've made your basic plays, clears the board and lets you OTK, and just sets up mad plays. And, you know, it only benefits you. So, for the hand traps, standard package of 9, 3 Ash, 3 Phantasme, and 3 Nibiru. The 3 Ash are standard, as always, 3 Phantasme and 3 Nibiru. A lot of people have said that Phantasme is no longer as powerful a card. I disagree with that. You know, almost every deck post Dual Overload now has their own link. There have always been decks that don't use links. You know, we've had decks like Draco, which were really top tier for a long time, and if you saw that and you were playing Phantasme, you just sided it out. Needle Fiber is one of the most played cards in the game right now. Almost every video you see online is a Needle Fiber based strategy. So running Phantasme gets you to see cards like Nibiru and stop the combos before they hit you. There are going to be hand loops in this format. Things like Mermail are going to come and just rip 5 cards out your hand. Sphere Mode does nothing for you if you've had everything ripped out your hand, but if you Phantasme at the right time, get that Nibiru, you can stop those plays dead in their tracks, and then just absolutely run over them with the OTK strength next turn. So standard 9 works pretty comfortably for me. Spell and trap ratios, 3 emergency. 3 emergency is correct. It is a hard once per turn, but anytime you draw it, it's great. Unlike Cyber Repair Plant, which requires setup, and we're only playing one of them for that reason, you can only activate the emergency once per turn, but if you draw it, it's always live. Opening hand, it's live. The only time it's not live is if somehow you've burned every single Cyber Dragon card in your deck, and at that stage, well, that's just a no man's land style game. So So yeah, 3 emergency, 1 repair plant. Repair plant is of course a great searcher, searches pretty much anything you could want, and shuffles resources back when you need them as well. But because it requires that setup, it can be a brick, especially if you draw 2. Drawing 2 is just awful. Whilst if you draw 2 emergency, you at least know it's great next turn as well for immediately getting Nacht or immediately getting Core, so on. 1 rev system, searchable monster reborn. A lot of funny games with dinos where you revive Siger with that and they just typically don't have an out to it. 1 Cyberload Fusion, obviously a really great fusion spell, couples brilliantly with Overload Fusion, which because of Anaconda is now back in the deck. You know, banish your resources, shuffle them back in, lots of back row disruption, it's great. Fun for the kids, fun for the whole family. 1 Foolish Burial, pitch any of the Cyber Dragons like Core and Hares, speaks for itself, it's just a great setup card. 3 Machine Duplication, the card that is blue to my hand and has almost cost me many friendships. Will probably be at 3 in the deck unless a ban list says otherwise. 1 Monster Reborn, again, it's a good generic extender, especially for when you're going first and you want to try really hard to make some kind of viable play to just stop yourself getting run over by all the better top tier decks. Not that I'm implying that Cyber Dragons are anything other than the best deck to ever grace the hemisphere of Yu-Gi-Oh! 1 Overload Fusion, 2 Twin Twister, you know, it's still generically one of the best cards, gives you access to floodgates and so on, which can be really quickly in 1 second, so yes, I do main 2. But because I'm also playing 1 Overflow, I don't see the need to play 3. There's a lot of outs there to Mystic Mine, which can be a problem, so the 2 Twin Twisters and Overflow give you plenty of answers to plenty of problems. Into the extra deck for our fusion package, 1 Fortress, 1 Mega Fleet, and 2 Rampage. You play 2 Rampage because, especially now with Anaconda, you're far more likely to actually resolve both of your fusion spells in a game. But if you're playing 1, which you can do, you're essentially admitting to playing a dead card, because if you use Cyberload Fusion, great, but you don't really have a way to recur that Rampage, so 2 just stops you from having a dead card. 1 Mega Fleet, yes, because you can summon anywhere now, it's harder to get that free resource away. You know, it wasn't always the case that a great card was left in the extra zone, but now that it's harder to now that it's easier, sorry, to play around, Mega Fleet's not quite as great, but, you know, it's still a monster zone, it still gets played, and your opponent doesn't go into every match thinking, right, this is Cyber Dragons. When they know it's Cyber Dragons, yeah, they're going to play around it, but sometimes you can't. Link zones still need to be used, so you can still catch them off guard. So next for the XYZ package, 2 Nova and 1 Infinity. You can't make Infinity more than once in a turn, so I don't think you need to play 2. If you really need to, you can shuffle it back with Repair Plant. You can revive it with Nacht. There are occasions, of course, like anything, where you wish you had a second, but that's just win more strategies. You want to make sure you've got the overall consistency. 2 Nova is great because you can extend and keep reviving things with Nova, and it sets up a lot of plays, and there are occasions where you might even let it die to trigger its summon effect from the extra deck. Excuse me. So 2 Nova and 1 Infinity. That ratio might get tweaked and changed, but I'm fairly happy with it for now. 1 Dingirsu, you summon that out with your Fortress and Levianeer. Obviously it's a great card, outs just about every boss monster you could imagine, and gives you some protection. It's a pretty great card. River Stormer and Calamities, they're part of the combo that was showcased in the last Cyber Dragon video. River Stormer searches your Anchor Drill, then you'll make the Platinum Gadget, which will summon it out. Bada bing, bada boom, you make Calamities. But you can still use the Anchor Drill with things like Hares or Nacht to make a Nova play as well. Other than that, you'll not really use River Stormer for anything other than the combo. You might, but typically not. 1 Siger, the attack boost is pretty much made Power Bond irrelevant. As much as people kept panning for a searchable Power Bond, Siger is the answer to that. It's generic, it's easy to summon in the archetype, of course. You make your play to summon Siger, then you get Anaconda out, and it turns almost any hand into a OTK purely because of the strength of Anaconda. 1 Platinum Gadget as an entry combo. Anaconda. Now that's obviously the best card Cybers have gotten as a form of indirect support. Once you have made every play, you know, you've made your Infinities, you've absorbed the entire board, you've slurped it all away, and it's time to OTK. Cybers were really struggling in the modern day to get that finishing punch. They couldn't always OTK. They would almost always break the board, but they just didn't always have the resources anymore. But that's no longer a problem. Anaconda just says, hey, you know that play you made? That's great and all. Now let's finish the fight. And I love Anaconda for that reason. We're playing one relinquished anima now instead of Linkuriboh. The arrow from Linkuriboh is pretty much irrelevant. You're obviously not relying on a lot of link summoning or chain link summoning. So anima is just another potential monster steal. It's quite easy to use, but it's also a dark monster that you can use to get your Levianeer plays. Then finally, one Almirage, which obviously is your generic link away for things like core and so on. And with things like Zoo back and Trident being splashed into a lot of decks, if you go first, or even if you go second and they've ended on a Trident board, and if it's pure Zoo, not a lot else, the Almirage just gives you that bait of protection where you know you've made one of their cards essentially dead. Going into the side deck now, so for the spell package, or the going second package, there are 3 Dark Ruler No More. That's really good for your Rocket matchups, or things like your Adamantipator, the Rocky Boy decks. Generically good. Yes, obviously you lose the ability to OTK, but a lot of the decks that lose to Dark Ruler No More are decks that just don't have the recursion. So yeah, you'll activate Dark Ruler No More with no way to stop it. Cybers will obviously absorb the board, remove it with great deal of ease, and there's typically going to be no coming back from that. 3 Lightning Storm, again, Cybers always have tougher matchups with control and trap-based decks. Generically, wonderful card. Now we're playing the 3 different dimensions round, a card I true-heartedly love because it has won me many tough matches and carried me through bigger events. When you side this in for when you're going first, you can set this alongside other cards like Calamities, and it just allows you to absolutely clean house before they even get a chance to play. Now, instead of Sanctum and Scythe, we are playing Dimensional Barrier. This is because going first, you really do feel that lack of a 6th card, and your consistency can wobble a bit. So playing Dimensional Barrier, it means you've got a card that's live, you don't need to worry about seeing a Brick, you don't need to worry about it getting ashed. And you can use that essentially to stop a lot of the plays that are going to hurt you. Cybers have quite a good matchup with Orcust, obviously, so going second, the different dimension ground really solves that better than the dimension barrier. So your side deck still keeps all the decks you need to worry about in check. And finally, 3 evenly matched, because again, you want more answers to control, more answers to big board. It's a generically good card which helps in many different matchups, but the side deck sort of complements the main deck in the theme of removal and destruction.
Perfect, my man. As always, you talk incredibly well. Is there any other words, anything else that you'd like to just say about the deck before we wrap up?
Only that it's going to be king again. Just wait and see. We'll make this happen. And other than that, make sure you like and subscribe to Tally's channel and keep an eye out on any of his future content.
God, what a great guy. Guys, let's take this to the outro. Guys, that is the deck profile for today. As always, thank you to Jamie for letting me steal his deck profiles for content I do enjoy. First of all, talking to him, lovely guy. Second of all, I like hearing him talk about decks because he's quite a good player. Alright, guys, as always, if you like the content, give it a like, and if you love it, give it a share and tell everyone you know about Team Tally today. If you want to join Team Tally, the subscribe button is down below. Also, guys, if you want to support the content, feel free to leave a comment. As always, let me know what you think about the deck profile, but also if you've got nothing real to say, just say hashtag for the algorithm. Alright guys, if you want to catch up with me outside of Yu-Gi-Oh! I do have a Twitter, Instagram and Twitch. They are all at tcg_tally. Now guys, as always, you have been amazing. I have been Tally. I'll catch you all later. Bye.